We're in a new place, and it's a great place to be in. You know, we're now going to be a part of a revenue sharing model, which is historic for the WNBA and really for the future to come. And how does that work? How is the money split? How is it separated?
Now, I got to ask the question that obviously everyone wants to know is, you know, are you feeling better about the WNBA season now, or are we still just kind of, you know, wait to see what happens?
I'm feeling better. I'm feeling like the owners are finally like really acknowledging and being receptive of what we want, and the players as well. You know, we all had to kind of put our business hats on and get into that mindset, and I'm hoping we can get this thing done quickly.
Pay attention to what she just said. The owners are finally really acknowledging and being receptive of what we want. Finally, that word matters. Because just 2 weeks ago, the tone from WNBA players was completely different. Social media was flooded with demands for 50% revenue sharing, threats of sitting out the season, and accusations that billionaire owners were being cheap. Now Breanna Stewart is talking about compromise, about putting on business hats, and about getting deals done quickly. So what changed? Because something definitely changed.
Now that we're a part of a revenue shared model, like, you miss game, it's less money. And not to say that we should submit and just say yes to any proposal that we don't like, but like, this is a business now, and this is how businesses go.
There it is. This is a business now. Not this has always been a business, or we're treating this like a business. She said, this is a business now, present tense, as if it wasn't before, and that reveals something crucial about where the players' heads were during these negotiations. The league sent a revised proposal on February 6 that included major concessions on housing standards and facility upgrades. But here's what it didn't include: a significant change to the revenue sharing percentage. Yet somehow, players are suddenly more optimistic. That doesn't add up unless something else shifted.
Somebody said, I think we're going to have a season. I don't know if it'll be the whole season. Now, that could be a thing too, as we're getting backed up with 2 expansion drafts, the free agency, and then also the draft itself for college players, right? So we're backed up, man. We're backed up. I don't know how they're gonna squeeze all of that into before the season start, but man, I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. But somebody also said, I feel like we're asking for a lot. I know we deserve it, but at the same time, it's kind of like we're kind of getting greedy. Oof. We're doing a lot of asking. I feel like we need to do a lot of doing.
Listen to what this anonymous player admitted to ESPN. I feel like we're asking for a lot. I know we deserve it, but at the same time, it's kind of like we're kind of getting greedy. We're doing a lot of asking. I feel like we need to do a lot of doing. That's not coming from a casual fan or a critic. That's coming from inside the locker room. A player who's part of these negotiations just used the word greedy to describe their own position. That's a massive shift from the public stance we were seeing just weeks ago.
Is trying to rival the WNBA. As you can see in this article, it states, Alex Basil shuts down imagined conflict between Unrivaled and the WNBA. Again. All right, he did it once already, but he came back and doubled back. I'm pretty sure because of Natasha Cloud. I'm telling you, man, Natasha Cloud has been making it seem like, hey, look, we don't need the W. We can stay right in here and keep playing. We can play Unrivaled year-round if we want to. And in this article, you will see that that's not the goal of Unrivaled. They don't necessarily want to take this.
Think about the timeline here. In late January, the narrative was all about player empowerment and demanding what they deserve. Natasha Cloud was on social media suggesting Unrivaled could replace the WNBA season entirely. Multiple players were posting about solidarity and not backing down. The union's public position was firm: PANICS, significant revenue sharing increase or no deal. Then the February 6th proposal came through with better facilities and housing, but no major revenue bump. And suddenly, the temperature drops. Players start talking about compromise, about understanding the business, about getting deals done quickly so they don't lose game checks. So what happened in those 2 weeks? Because the owners didn't fundamentally change their offer on revenue sharing. That part stayed relatively flat, yet the players went from, we won't accept anything less, to we're feeling better about this. Either someone showed them numbers they hadn't seen before, or someone explained the reality of their negotiating position in a way that finally landed.
Young guns, y'all know I'm rooting for these young guns, man. But you have Aaliyah Boston, who made the team, Paige Beckers, Sonia Citron, Caitlin Clark, Kate Kopp, Chelsea Gray, Dearica Hamby, Ryan Howard, Kiki Arafin, Kelsey Plum, Angel Reese, and Jackie.
Alex Bizzell had to come out and make this statement for the second time. The first time apparently didn't stick because Natasha Cloud kept pushing the narrative that Unrivaled could be a year-round alternative to the WNBA. But Bizzell is being crystal clear here. Unrivaled needs the WNBA to survive. The 3-on-3 league gets its player recognition, its fan base, and its marketing value directly from WNBA success. Without the W running continuously and growing, Unrivaled loses its primary talent pipeline and its biggest source of free promotion.
Than they did last year, right? Another piece of big Unrivaled news, it seems like they are making a trip to Brooklyn, man. Go ahead and take a look at this.
They always describe it in the same way. It's even better in person. It's loud, it draws attention. It moves faster than you think. If you can win there, you can win anywhere. It's the best fan base in the world. Unrivaled in Brooklyn, March 2nd.
And here's where it gets interesting for the CBA negotiations. Several players who own stakes in Unrivaled are also part of the union leadership pushing for the WNBA deal. That created what some people called a conflict of interest. If the WNBA season gets delayed or canceled, Unrivaled could theoretically benefit by having exclusive access to top players for a longer period. But Bizzell just killed that theory. He explicitly said they want the CBA done, they want the WNBA season to happen, and they want it to start on time, because a delayed WNBA season doesn't help Unrivaled, it hurts them. That statement might have been the reality check some players needed. If even the league they own isn't going to benefit from blowing up the WNBA season, then what exactly is the endgame of holding out for demands the owners have repeatedly said they can't meet? The math has to math, and maybe, just maybe, someone finally showed them the actual math. 12 players. That's the USA Basketball World Cup qualifying roster that just got announced. Aaliyah Boston, Paige Beckers, Satu Sabali, Caitlin Clark, Kalia Copper, Chelsea Gray, Dearica Hamby, Ryan Howard, Kelsey Mitchell, Kelsey Plum, Angel Reese, and Jackie Young. You know what all 12 of those players have in common right now? They need to know if there's going to be a WNBA season in 2025, because their World Cup performance is directly tied to their WNBA form, their WNBA minutes, and their WNBA rhythm. Think about the pressure that puts on the negotiation. These aren't just any 12 players, this is Team USA. This is the group that's supposed to represent American basketball on the world stage and defend the country's dominance in women's hoops. They're supposed to start World Cup qualifying in the summer, which means they need to be in game shape, in game rhythm, and in game form. You can't do that without a professional season. Unrivaled is great for skill work and staying sharp in the off-season, but it's 3-on-3 basketball played once a week. That's not the same as a full 5-on-5 WNBA schedule with back-to-backs and playoff intensity. So now you've got USA Basketball in the background, probably making some calls, probably having some conversations about the importance of getting this deal done. Because if the WNBA season gets delayed or shortened, that directly impacts the national team's preparation. And nobody wants to be the player who held up negotiations so long that Team USA showed up to World Cup qualifying out of rhythm and underprepared. March 2nd. That's when Unrivaled plays in Brooklyn, and they're expecting another packed house after drawing 21,000 fans in Philadelphia. The league is expanding, the viewership is growing, and the players are making good money in the off-season. That's all great news. But it also creates an interesting dynamic for the CBA talks. Because the better Unrivaled does, the more it proves that women's basketball has a hungry audience willing to pay for quality product. And if that's true for a 3-on-3 league playing in January and February, imagine what it means for the WNBA playing full 5-on-5 in prime summer months. Here's what I think really shifted the players' perspective. Someone, whether it was union leadership, financial advisors, or just players doing their own research. Finally showed them the full financial picture, not just the revenue numbers, but the actual business structure, the costs of running a league with 14 teams across the country, the investment required for the new franchises in Golden State, Toronto, and Portland. The reality that the WNBA is still building its foundation even as it experiences this massive growth spike, because here's the thing about revenue sharing that I don't think got communicated clearly enough in the early negotiations. The NBA players get 50% of basketball-related income, sure, but the NBA has been around for 78 years. They have established arenas, established fan bases, established media deals worth billions of dollars annually, and established infrastructure that took decades to build. The WNBA is 28 years old and just signed its first media deal that pays individual players life-changing money. The situations aren't comparable yet. That doesn't mean the players don't deserve more. They absolutely do. The growth of the league in 2024 was unprecedented. Caitlin Clark's debut drew 2.1 million viewers on ESPN. Playoff games were hitting records, and the cultural conversation around women's basketball reached levels nobody predicted. The players drove that growth, and they should be compensated for it. But there's a difference between we deserve a significant raise and better revenue sharing, and we deserve NBA-level revenue sharing right now or we're not playing. The revised proposal that came through on February 6th apparently found that middle ground, better housing so players aren't dealing with bedbugs and substandard apartments, facility upgrades so they're not practicing in high school gyms, charter flights for the full season, not just playoffs, and a revenue-sharing model that's historic for the WNBA, even if it's not 50%. That last part is key. It's still revenue sharing, it's still a percentage of league income, it's just not the percentage the players initially demanded. And maybe that's what Breanna Stewart meant when she said players had to put their business hats on. Because business isn't just about getting everything you ask for. It's about understanding leverage, understanding market conditions, and understanding when you've gotten a deal that's genuinely good even if it's not everything you wanted. The players have legitimate leverage right now, the league needs them, the fans want to see them, and the growth trajectory depends on them. But that leverage has limits. If the season gets canceled or significantly delayed, everybody loses. The players lose game checks and exposure. The league loses momentum and media value. The fans lose the product they've been craving, and the whole women's basketball ecosystem takes a hit it might not recover from quickly. Look at what happened with Caitlin Clark last season. She went from college superstar to cultural phenomenon specifically because people could watch her play professional basketball on national television every week. Her Nike deal, her endorsements, her mainstream recognition, all of that came from the WNBA platform. Now imagine if that platform doesn't exist in 2025 because negotiations broke down. Paige Bueckers comes into the league as the #1 pick with massive hype, and instead of capitalizing on it immediately, she's sitting at home waiting for a CBA to get done. That's not just bad for the league, it's bad for her individual brand and earning potential. The same logic applies to every player. Angel Reese built her profile significantly last season despite dealing with injury. Another strong season in 2025 sets her up for bigger endorsements and more opportunities. But if there's no season, or if it's shortened and rushed, that development gets stunted. Aaliyah Boston is entering her third year in position to take another leap. Rhyne Howard is ready to show she's an elite scorer. Kelsey Mitchell just had a career year and wants to build on it. All of that requires a full season with proper preparation time. And then there's the business reality that Breanna Stewart alluded to. Once you're part of a revenue-sharing model, missing games means missing money, not just salary as actual revenue share. If the season starts late, there are fewer games, which means less ticket revenue, less media revenue, less sponsorship activation, and therefore less money in the pool that players get a percentage of. So holding out for a slightly higher percentage of a smaller pool might actually result in less total money than accepting a slightly lower percentage of a full season's revenue. That's the math that matters. I think what we're seeing now is the players recognizing that they won this negotiation, even if it doesn't feel like a complete victory. They got historic concessions on quality of life issues that have plagued the league for years. They got a revenue-sharing structure that didn't exist before. They got the league to acknowledge their value in concrete financial terms, and they maintained their leverage for the next CBA negotiation, which will happen after these new media deals have been in place for a few years and after the expansion teams have proven the league's growth is sustainable. That's not settling. That's not giving up. That's recognizing when you've moved the needle significantly, and when pushing further risks breaking the whole mechanism. The WNBA players are in a better negotiating position than they've ever been in league history. But they're not in a position to dictate terms completely, and I think that reality is finally sinking in. The owners aren't going to agree to a deal that puts the league's financial stability at risk, no matter how much public pressure there is. And the players aren't going to get everything they want in one negotiation, no matter how much they deserve it. So where does this leave us? Probably with a deal getting done in the next few weeks. The expansion draft needs to happen. Free agency needs to open. The college draft needs to be scheduled. Training camps need to start. And all of that requires a CBA in place. The fact that Breanna Stewart is publicly saying she feels better about things, the fact that anonymous players are admitting they might have been asking for too much, and the fact that the rhetoric has shifted from "we won't back down" to "let's get this done quickly." All of that points to a deal being close. Will it be everything the players wanted? No. Will it be a significant step forward for the league and for player compensation? Absolutely. And sometimes in business, that's what winning looks like. Not getting everything in one shot, but moving the ball down the court far enough that the next shot becomes easier. The WNBA players just moved the ball significantly. Now they need to take the points on the board and get ready for the next possession. Because here's what matters most: the 2025 season needs to happen, it needs to happen on time, and it needs to capitalize on the momentum from 2024. Caitlin Clark's rookie year brought millions of new fans to women's basketball. Paige Buecker's debut could bring millions more. The 3 new expansion teams represent new markets and new revenue streams. The media deals are paying real money for the first time. Everything is aligned for the WNBA to take another massive leap forward. But only if there's actually a season to play. So yeah, maybe the players had to put their business hats on, as Breanna Stewart said. Maybe they had to accept that getting 80% of what you want is better than getting 0% because you refuse to compromise. Maybe they had to recognize that the best time to push for more is after you've proven the growth is sustainable, not before. And maybe, just maybe, that's the most important business lesson of all, knowing when to take the deal that sets you up for the next one. The WNBA players just learned that lesson. Now let's see if they learned it in time to save the season.